Welcome back. The Uniform Land Use Review Procedure, or ULURP, is a standardized procedure where applications affecting land use of the city are publicly reviewed. In a recent public hearing, although Community Board 6 members and the community voted in support of a proposed Arthur Avenue hotel, the community seems a little split on the decision to bring this new project to Belmont. Joining us now to share more are two community members on two different sides. For the project is Mr. Frank Franz, chairman of the Housing Committee at Community Board 6, and against the project is resident Jose Padilla, who is also running for city council in District 15. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. I'll start with Mr. Franz. Can you please tell us about the project and what developer Harry Bajraktari seeks to bring to Arthur Avenue?
Well, the idea of bringing a hotel to Arthur Ave is nothing new. I'm a lifelong resident of the community also. And when I got involved with the merchant organization here back in the 90s, there was a push for a hotel in the community then being launched by the borough president's office. So for more than 25 years, we've been trying to bring a hotel to the area. And of course, we're very suspicious of outside developers and what might happen. There's a lot of things that could go wrong. We didn't want a white elephant in our community. So we were very happy when Mr. Bajraktari, who's been working on this for 10 years, it's nothing new. I saw plans for the hotel more than 5 years ago, and there's been adjustments made, to accommodate the issues brought up by the Business Improvement District and by the merchants. And Mr. Bajraktari is a member of the community also. His office is there. It's been there for decades. He owns a lot of real estate. His family is well known. His friends and family are there. He's given a lot of his time to the community, supported local community efforts, was a member of the board of directors of the Business Improvement District for a while. So this isn't a stranger, it's a person who has credibility, who we've seen the work he's done. So that was important to us also. Now, this particular project offers a number of things. I don't know if you want me to get into why we should have a hotel here to begin with.
Yes, I actually wanted to get into why and how it will benefit the community, in your opinion, if we can talk about that.
Well, first of all, in general, the Bronx is highly underserved by hotels. There's much a higher rate of hotels in all the other boroughs. Next, as far as our particular location, well, let's look at what we have here. We're walking distance to the Bronx Zoo. The Bronx Zoo is the second largest tourist attraction in the city of New York, getting more than 4 million visitors a year. Right next to them is the New York Botanical Gardens, coming in at 1.3 million visitors a year. Then, of course, there's Fordham University that has over 15,000 students here, most of them boarding here, some boarding down at Lincoln Center, but we probably have, I would imagine, somewhere between 10, 11,000 students boarding here whose parents come here. As someone who's been a landlord in the community for 30 years, largely renting to Fordham students, the number one most asked question by parents to me is, when I come down to visit my kids, where can I stay? And that's been for years. And quite frankly, they don't stay in the Bronx at all. They either stay in Manhattan, or many of them stay at a number of hotels up on Tuckahoe Road, because they're not looking to stay in a motel. They're looking to stay in a full service, hotel. Not to mention the people that come to our neighborhood. I mean, we have tens of thousands of people that visit the neighborhood every week. We have 10,000, we serve over 10,000 meals in this community. Now, what you might not realize is 83.5% of the business in Little Italy comes from more than 5 miles away. And more than 40% comes from more than 40 miles away. We're not a local neighborhood. We are a tourist neighborhood. It's not uncommon to see people driving down 3, 4, 5 hours to come down here and shop. And what they do is they shop for their entire block. And every week someone else takes a turn coming down here. And we have people that come quite a distance to eat. And I would think that some of those people, might want to have a few drinks, hang out, and spend the weekend here, and maybe drop in to see the zoo and the gardens also. If you've ever tried to get a room at any of, there's a motel in the neighborhood, and there's motels all up and down Boston Post Road. Not all of them, in my opinion, the nicest place to stay, but you can't get a room in any of them during the summer. They're filled with people going to the Bronx Zoo.
Right.
So that justifies right there the need for the hotel. And don't forget, at Fordham University, you have baseball games, basketball, football, graduation, parents' weekends, all these things that bring tens of thousands of people from out of the area and even out of the state here.
Right.
So that justifies the reason for it.
Thank you, Mr. Franz. I actually wanted to hear from Mr. Padilla, who is actually against this project. Mr. Padilla, can you tell us why and how you think it will actually affect the community, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, I want to begin by saying that, as you well know, I've asked for a moratorium due to the pandemic. As we know, zip code 10458, where the project is proposed, is a zip code which the numbers had been increasing, and at the moment they are decreasing in terms of COVID-19. That being said, I've also publicly asked through a press release recently that the borough president issue a no vote, and that the public advocate for the city of New York, Jamani Williams, also review, intervene, and issue an opinion and comment on this particular land use matter. The reason is that there's recently raised questions. Uh, uh, I've been examining some of the um, timing on this project, and it appears that there may have been an intent to rush the project to avoid what may be coming towards the city council, which is legislation number 1572A, which that would call for a racial disparity study. So, and the timing of it is kind of suspicious because it doesn't appear from the review of the minutes from the land use committee meetings that there was a presentation made by the developer, whether or not there was going to be a discussion of the impact on the community, the residents, the infrastructure, and the parking. Now, subsequent to that particular meeting, there were two articles. There was one in yimby.com where there's a discrepancy on the amount of hotel rooms that the project is going to bring. According to their article, it shows that there's going to be 176 rooms. According to the land use committee meetings, it shows that there's going to be 145. And then according to the Bronx Times article, that shows that they're going to be 146. So there's the one discrepancy, and there are also other discrepancies in terms that whether or not there has been an architect that has provided plans for this, and also whether or not the developer had acquired all the property that's necessary for this development. Now, some of the impact on the community during the construction project is going to be that it's going to bring, depending on what season of the year it's done, additional traffic and parking issues to the community. Some of the issues that may be brought forth after the development may be the displacement of residents within that community, and also rising rents, as we see that other developers may want to push out tenants that perhaps may be rent regulated or rent stabilized, and to develop other projects as well. Now, before the project, some of the issues that we have and how it will affect the community is that during the community the hearing, there was no discussion on income levels to qualify for the 17 affordable apartments that project is going to bring in the housing aspect of it. And 17 apartments, given the substantial land use designation that it's requiring, is I believe it's too little. We don't know, once again, how it's going to affect the schools in the area, because as we know that we have overcrowded schools in the area, and if you're bringing an additional, I believe it's 56 housing units to that area, they are going to utilize schools. There's no indication whether any of the fact that what's going to happen with the mom and pop businesses that are on that stretch, and also to the residents of 2159 Hughes Avenue and 2157 Hughes Avenue, which are single family homes which are currently occupied. So, there are a number of issues that have been that this project and raises questions, and these are the reasons why I believe it's going to affect the community.
Thank you, Mr. Padilla. Actually wanted to ask Mr. Franz if he can say something in response to your claims that this process may have been a little unfair. Mr. Franz, if you can just talk on the ULERP process and the support that this project received and your response to Mr. Padilla's claims.
Sure. Just a couple of quick comments. One, and this is in no particular order, it's just what I remember Mr. Padilla saying. I'm not sure what COVID-19 has to do with this, because this building will not, construction will not start for a year and a half. Occupancy won't be ready for 3 years. Two, the developer does have all the property. And as far as impact studies, traffic studies, All of that has to be considered by the Department of Buildings before the ULURP process could even start. Plans, impact on traffic, impact on the environment, even impact on the shadow that the building will cast is all done by the Department of Buildings. And until they're happy with it and certify it, it doesn't even go to the ULURP process. So all that has been taken into account already. As far as the businesses there, they've all been on a month-to-month lease for quite a while. By quite a while, I mean many years, in anticipation of this process going up. You know, you can't tell a person what to do with his own property. They're not looking for any tax incentives or anything like that. This is all being paid for by Mr. Bartari. And I believe it is around 140 something rooms. But of course, until the buildings department approves the final plans, you don't really know 100%, but it'll probably be in the upper 140s. I also believe there's more than 17 rental units that are going to be there for affordable housing. I believe it's somewhere closer to 27, which is necessary because we have a lot of antiquated housing in the neighborhood. As far as parking, and this is the thing I'm most interested in, is this building will have a parking lot for more than 150 cars, more than can be utilized by the hotel. Now, anyone who's paid attention to the community and the business improvement district over the years knows that we fight tooth and nail with the Department of Transportation for every parking spot. The only factor limiting growth in that community is parking, the ability for people to get here. This will provide more parking than the, the municipal lot, which holds 51 cars, of which they just took 4 spaces away from us to put zip cars in there. So this will offer considerably more parking allowance to grow. I don't know if people realize that we have over 1,700 full-time jobs in this little community, mostly employing people from the community. And we are in the poorest congressional district in the United States. That's how this could be an economic boom to this neighborhood, by creating more parking, creating more jobs, bringing more business to the community. So we've been in favor of this for a long time. Now, as far as the ULURP process, that's regulated by, city ordinance. If there was a moratorium placed against it, and it's your right to ask for one, then obviously it couldn't be done anywhere in the city, but since there is no moratorium against it, and, Zoom meetings and online meetings have become a de facto way of business over the last year, I don't think that is sufficient grounds for holding up, a multi-million-dollar project and expecting the developer to absorb the brunt of that when he's not doing anything that's not being done all over the city and is within the complete norms of the way business is transacted today.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Franz. And Mr. Padilla, did you say you were calling for a moratorium on the developments happening in the Bronx as well as the ULURP process as well? Can you clarify on what you were asking for in the beginning?
The moratorium stands from the fact that we're right now considered in an emergency at the state level. Remember, we're in an emergency. Governor Cuomo has issued the emergency, and therefore, that our numbers in terms of COVID and have increased in that zip code 10458, and also in the general Bronx area. Reminding that once the vaccinations go through, then those numbers are expected to decrease, and perhaps it would be probably a better idea then to go ahead with some of the issues that that need clarification with this project. But in terms of the moratorium, land use, the ULURP process was designed to basically give an opportunity to citizens and elected officials to comment on pending land use matters. In this particular case, there were no elected officials that provided any testimony. And also the opportunity for the ULURP process may have been violated because this was done with a Zoom meeting. So, and during the committee hearings, all they discussed was the matter of bringing forth a hotel to the community without any discussion of any impacts. The ULURP process, it was completely unfair in terms of, how things are supposed to be done under that procedure. And that's why I'm calling for the borough president to, once he reviews it, to issue a no vote.
Thank you, Mr. Padilla and Mr. Franz. Is there another community discussion coming up regarding the hotel, or was that the end of the ULURP process? I know that there's another process after Community Board 6 met. What is the next step in the Arthur Avenue Hotel?
Well, there's been numerous presentations by the developer in the community already, to the BID, to the zoo, to the gardens, to Fordham University, and publicly. He also made a public presentation at the meeting of the Community Planning Board Land Use Committee when the committee reviewed it and recommended it to the full board. Now, once the ULURP process starts, which has already started, yes, there was a hearing held by the board, and then at another meeting, there was a vote held. Now, this is just the first step. I've been involved with these things before in the community. Of course, I watch all the development in the community. Politicians are typically not here at this point. The Community Planning Board gets a chance to get a response from the community, and their vote is just an opinion. So they approve this project, but that's simply an opinion. There'll be another hearing now at the borough president level, which anyone's welcome to attend, and the borough president's office will render an opinion, which again is just an opinion. After that, there'll be yet another hearing at the Department of Planning in detail, and now their vote counts. If they vote against it, the project is stopped. But if they approve it, it goes on to a vote of the entire city council, which will not be happening for quite some time from now. We don't even know who our city councilman will be at that time. But if they vote against it, again, it is stopped. If they approve it, it could still be stopped by the mayor. So there's more than enough time for people to ask questions, to attend reviews, and more than enough time for politicians to weigh in, and several places where this project could be stopped if deemed inappropriate. So the process has just begun. It's not at the end by any means. This is just the, it's just started. So if anybody wants to make any input at this time, there's still plenty of time left. And I believe I could answer any one of the issues that Mr. Padilla is confused about. I believe they all have been answered, and maybe he just hasn't had access to all the information. But I'm happy to provide that to him or anyone else.
Before we go, Mr. Franz, if you can provide an email address or a source where people can comment or make any questions at this time for Community Board 6.
I don't know the community board's email address offhand. I'm sure you can look it up online. I'm sure the community board will be happy to hear them. I'm happy to offer my own personal email address to answer anyone's questions. And my email address is simply my name, Frank Franz, as you can see there, Frank, Franz, at verizon.net. My family's been here for over a century in this community. I'm one of the founders of the Community Planning Board. I've been on the police council, the church council. I live 2 blocks from where this hotel is going up. So believe me, if I thought it was a bad idea, I'd be the one screaming louder than anyone else against it.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us for this discussion today. If you have any questions regarding the Arthur Avenue Hotel and the recent ULURP process, you may also reach out to Bronx Community Board 6 via email at bronxcb6@bronxcb6.org. We'll be right back.